You have made financial decisions today that had nothing to do with math. You chose the larger coffee because it felt like better value. You hesitated before a purchase you could easily afford. You felt a small rush when something was marked on sale, even though you hadn't planned to buy it at all. None of that was logical. All of it was completely predictable. Because money, despite everything you have been told about budgets and interest rates and investment strategies, is not primarily a math problem. It is a psychology problem. And until you understand how your mind actually handles money, no spreadsheet in the world will fix what is happening in your financial life. Here is where it starts. In 1979, two psychologists named Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky published a paper that would later win a Nobel Prize and permanently change how economists understood human behavior. They called it prospect theory. The core finding was simple and devastating. Losing $100 does not feel the same as gaining $100. The pain of losing is roughly twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining the same amount. Your brain is not wired for rational financial calculation. It is wired to avoid loss above almost everything else. This is why you hold on to losing investments far longer than you should. Selling confirms the loss. As long as you don't sell, some part of your brain believes the loss isn't real yet. This behavior has a name. Researchers call it the disposition effect. And it costs ordinary investors billions of dollars every single year. It is also why a sale works so powerfully on you. The original price on the tag is not information. It is an anchor. Your brain grabs the first number it sees and uses it as a reference point for everything that follows. When the price drops from $200 to $120, you don't feel like you're spending $120. You feel like you're saving $80. The retailer didn't lower the price. They changed the math your brain was doing. This mechanism was documented extensively by Dan Ariely, a behavioral economist at Duke University, whose research on what he called arbitrary coherence showed that the first price you encounter for any product shapes your willingness to pay for it permanently, even when that first price was completely made up. Now add to this the way your brain accounts for money depending on where it came from. Richard Thaler, who won his own Nobel Prize in economics in 2017, identified a pattern he called mental accounting. People treat money differently based on its source, even though a dollar is a dollar regardless of where it came from. Tax refund money gets spent faster and more frivolously than paycheck money. Casino winnings get risked more aggressively than savings. Bonus money disappears on things you wouldn't normally buy, while your regular salary goes toward responsible expenses. The money is identical. Your brain treats it as fundamentally different. This is why windfalls rarely change people's financial positions long term. The money arrives in a mental category labeled different from normal income, and it gets treated accordingly. The same impulse that makes you more careful with money you worked hard for makes you more careless with money that felt easy. Here is the part that connects all of this to your actual life right now. Every financial decision you make is filtered through a set of beliefs you formed before you had any real control over money. Researchers like Brad Klontz, a financial psychologist who has spent decades studying what he calls money scripts, have found that most adults are operating on financial beliefs absorbed in childhood, often before the age of 10, without ever having consciously examined or chosen them. If you grew up watching a parent panic over bills, you may have absorbed the belief that money is always scarce and about to run out. If money was never discussed in your household, you may have absorbed the belief that talking about money is shameful or dangerous. If wealth was associated with greed or moral failure in your environment, you may be unconsciously sabotaging your own financial progress to avoid becoming someone you were taught to distrust. These scripts run silently in the background of every raise you don't ask for, every investment you don't make, every conversation about money you avoid having. So what does any of this mean practically? It means that the most important financial work you will ever do is not learning to read a balance sheet. It is learning to read yourself. It means building systems that account for the brain you actually have, not the rational calculating machine economists once assumed you were. Automating savings removes the moment of decision entirely. A written list at the supermarket removes the anchor effect of promotional pricing. Waiting 48 hours before any unplanned purchase over a set amount removes the urgency that loss aversion creates around limited time offers. None of these strategies require exceptional intelligence or discipline. They require self-knowledge, an understanding of exactly which psychological mechanisms are running in the background of your financial life, and a set of structures designed to work with them instead of against them. Daniel Kahneman spent his career studying the gap between how humans think they make decisions and how they actually make them. His conclusion, drawn from decades of research, was not that people are stupid. It was that people are predictably irrational. The irrationality follows patterns, and patterns can be anticipated, planned for, and redirected. Most people approach their financial problems as if they are information problems. They read more books. They watch more videos. They download another budgeting app. And nothing changes. Not because the information was wrong, but because the problem was never about information in the first place. The research is consistent on this point. Financial literacy programs that teach people facts about compound interest and savings rates produce almost no measurable change in actual financial behavior. Because behavior is not driven by facts. It is driven by emotions, beliefs, identity, and the deeply embedded scripts that were written into your relationship with money long before you had any say in the matter. This is why two people can read the same personal finance book and have completely different outcomes. One person's psychology aligns with the advice. The other person's psychology quietly overrides it within weeks. Understanding your own money psychology does not guarantee perfect financial decisions, but it does something more valuable. It makes your own behavior legible to you. When you notice yourself holding on to a losing investment longer than the numbers justify, you can name what is happening. When you feel the pull of a sale on something you didn't need, you can see the anchor effect in real time. When a windfall arrives and you feel the urge to treat it differently from your regular income, you can catch the mental accounting before it runs its course. Awareness is not a cure, but it is the only starting point that actually works. You have made financial decisions today that had nothing to do with math. Now you know exactly why. And knowing why is where the real work begins.